Jeff Passan of the Mothership, ESPN Senior Baseball Insider, joins us on the program. Explain to me the procedure, not surgery, that Shohei Otani had.
Yeah, it was surgery. And they tried to talk around it essentially to not use the words Tommy John. What it was, reading between the lines here, was a revision reconstruction with an internal brace. What that means is Tommy John surgery has evolved through the years, right? It used to be then the original procedure. Dr. Frank Jobe went into Tommy John's elbow and drilled holes and essentially looped a new UCL through those holes using a tendon that was taken from his wrist. From what Neil Elatrash, the doctor who did this surgery, said in the statement, he talked about it being a repair and a reinforcement, which suggests that they didn't go in with a brand new tendon and loop it through, that they reinforced the old one that was there and added an internal brace, which is something that Dr. Keith Meister, a noted Tommy John expert, has been doing the last few years, and that Neil Elatrash has picked up on as well, and that has found a ton of success in keeping guys healthy. Essentially, though, yes, this was Tommy John surgery, and Shohei Ohtani's not going to pitch next year, and the chances of him coming back and pitching in the future, frankly, are pretty good.
Okay, what's it do for his leverage here in the offseason?
Not a whole lot, because he's still hurt, right? Like, that's the problem with this. I was so genuinely wanting to see him go into this winter healthy, just to see how high his contract was going to go. I think if he was fully healthy going in, it was going to be $650 million. So I think that this UCL tear, that this procedure is going to cost him $150 million probably. But I really don't foresee many scenarios where it gets too far under 500. Like, maybe teams are hesitant, but let's look at it this way, Dan. You have a baseline in place already with Aaron Judge, to whom Shohei Otani is a very comparable bat, right? You have 9 years and $360 million. That is a recent comparable. You also have the fact that Shohei Otani is the biggest star in the sport, an international superstar, that your franchise value, just by having him around, is going to jump. You're going to sell tickets. You're going to sell merchandise. You're going to sell concessions. You're going to sell everything. And then, oh, by the way, you've got the pitching element too. And while you may not necessarily want to go out and guarantee that type of money, Jameson Taillon is a two-time Tommy John guy who went out and got $68 million from the Cubs this past offseason. And Shohei Otani is a lot better than Jameson Taillon has ever been before. So I think the argument in his favor to go and get that $500 million really is valid. It's just a question of which organization, and specifically which owner, is going to be willing to take that leap. Because all the other ones, Dan, are going to want to say, you know what? Yeah, we'll look at you being a pitcher, but you're going to have to earn that. This is going to be incentive based. And frankly, I don't think he's going to want it to be, and I don't think he should have it need to be.
Should I read into the fact that it was the Dodgers surgeon who did the surgery on Shohei Otani?
No, Neil Elatrash is just excellent at his job. He's the guy you go. Him and Meister are the guys you go to, and Jeff Dugas in Birmingham, like the David Altchek. Like there are certain surgeons, but when you are on the West Coast and you live in LA, you go to Neil Elatrash. Simple as that.
When do negotiations start for Shohei Otani?
The day after the World Series ends. and you know what? I'm sure there's back channeling going on right now that probably is against rules and regulations. But even with this surgery, Dan, he's still going to be the hottest free agent that we've seen since Alex Rodriguez the first time when he signed with Texas. Like, I can't think of another player who's gone out there and reached free agency. I mean, Bryce Harper, but that free agency sort of collapsed on itself. And that to me is going to be the defining question here. Are teams going to use the UCL issue as an excuse to avoid going after a transcendent player? Or are they not going to get in their own way and say, this is a once in a lifetime, literally, Dan, a once in a lifetime guy. And we have the opportunity to get him purely for money. We don't have to give up players. We don't have to give up prospects. All this is going to take is money. And I think the smart owners out there will approach it that way. And we're going to see a pretty interesting free agency on account of that.
All right. Give me the teams 1 through 3 that you think are going to be tough to beat. They're going to be in for the sweepstakes here.
Can I go more than that? Because I don't think there's an established favorite at this point. I think coming into this season, the expectation was Dodgers or bust. I don't think that's the case anymore. Like around the industry, the Dodgers certainly have interest in Ohtani, and they're certainly going to be there. And if they ended up with him in their uniform next year, it wouldn't surprise me. But the Dodgers are going to be there. I think the Boston Red Sox are going to be there. I think the Chicago Cubs are going to be there. I think the Texas Rangers are going to be there. The San Francisco Giants. A team like Seattle is really interesting to me. What is Seattle's appetite going to be to go for the years rather than that short-term high-dollar contract? And I don't know if it's going to play out this way necessarily, Dan, but it would not surprise me at all if a couple teams early on jump in with offers for like 4 years at $240 million. Just saying, hey, we're not going to go long-term with you, but we will give you 50% more than any player has ever made. We will make you a $60 million a year player. And at that point, is Ohtani going to be intrigued by that? Or is that simply going to embolden him to take that $60 million a year number and try and get it for 8 or 9 or 10 years, as opposed to the 4 or 5 that some teams might want to offer?
The Angels odds, did they move at all, increase, decrease with the injury that he had?
I guess maybe increased slightly, because there's a chance that the market just collapses, right? There's a chance that teams look at this and say, we thought he was a $60 million a year player, but now there's just too much uncertainty, and the Angels could swoop in. But I got to be honest, I'm not sure that the Angels are willing to go out there and spend the money to re-sign him. I don't know how heavy the interest is going to be there.
Could they have traded him 2 months ago? I know that we said that they should have, but
yes, of course they should have. I mean, it was. I wrote this in my column on ESPN.com yesterday. It was giving out awards, and the biggest blunder goes to the Los Angeles Angels for not doing what was patently obvious to everybody not named Artie Moreno. And when you have an impetuous owner who makes decisions flying by the seat of his pants, and suddenly, like 5 days before the trade deadline, when you have good offers lined up for a guy who in all likelihood is going to leave, but if you hold on to him, all you're going to get out of it is like the 70th pick in the draft as compensation. And you say, you know what? We're fighting for a wild card spot. And that sounds like a damn good idea. I mean, it's malpractice, Dan. It is. And then, I mean, of course, they're going to double down on it by going out and getting Lucas Giolito and Ronaldo Lopez that day. And then a month later, they give those guys away for free. I mean, it's just organizational incompetence that I frankly don't blame the baseball operations people for, because they're just doing what their owner asks. It's just extremely poor ownership. Simple as that.
Always great to talk to you, Jeff. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure's always mine, Dan. Thanks, buddy.
Jeff Passan, Mothership, ESPN Senior Baseball Insider.